I'd like to introduce the members of our panels. I'm Violet Harris. I'm a professor at the University of Illinois. My research is in the area of children's literature. We have Jason Lowe, who is the publisher of Lee and Lowe. We have Adriana Dominguez, a literary agent. We have Jean Yang, comic author, illustrator. And we have K.T. Horney from the Children's Cooperative Children's. I want each of our panelists to talk about a myth that exists with regard to diversity in children's literature. And I'll begin with Jason.
Okay. Good morning. I guess the myth that I have assigned to bust this morning is that the myth that the diversity problem is sort of only limited to the publishing industry. And essentially that's not true, and I'll tell you why. Essentially I've been with Lee and Lowe for about 18 years, and for about 15 of those years I pretty much talked about our books the way many publishers talk about their books. You know, I would talk about the strength of the writing, the talented authors and illustrators behind the scenes, the glowing reviews, and the prestigious awards. But in addition to that, in around 2012, we started to heavily get into blogging and social media. And in 2013, we released our first diversity gap study. And essentially, if you turn to your program on page 9, you'll see the first one that we put out. And it was basically, we took the often referred to and cited statistics or diversity statistics that CCBC has been putting out for years. I don't know how many talks that I've been at where I've cited these numbers myself, you know, and our keynote just cited them as well just a couple moments ago. But we simply took those numbers and we dumped them into an infographic. And what was interesting about it was that even people who were intimately familiar with these numbers were incredibly shocked to see the lack of progress that has been made over an 18-year time span. And it really sort of, I don't want to say that it sort of got people going, but it really sort of created a sense of urgency, you know, that you know, people were always had a suspicion that the numbers weren't good, but they didn't know they were this bad, okay? And so that's what infographics can do. And so on the next slide, you'll see another infographic that we put together. And we decided to broaden our scope, to go outside of publishing, to look at other media. This particular one you see up there is about sci-fi and fantasy blockbusters. Now, what does that have to do with publishing? Well, the thing is, the inequality issues that we are facing in our industry are also being faced in other industries. And so we would talk to people who are actors, who are directors, screenwriters, things like that. And we found that the kinds of obstacles that they were bumping up against are the same kind of obstacles that diverse authors and illustrators were bumping up against. So it began to lend itself to a societal-wide problem. And if we go to the next slide, here's another one that we did on the Oscar awards over 85 years, actually. And all these statistics, they're just out there. That's the thing about the internet. You go out there, you grab it, and you can put it in something that's immediately, essentially illustrates how bad the problem is, you know. And it drills down very deeply in terms of who the decision makers are, and then what projects get green-lighted, you know, and then also who's starring in the movies. I mean, it really goes all the way down. And from a historical perspective, we published a book few years ago about the first Asian American actress, Anna Mae Wong. And she faced a lot of problems getting cast in movies in the 1930s, right? So you jump back to modern day times and you're saying, wow, you know, actors of color are having the same problems that Anna Mae basically faced 85 years ago or whatever. So I think what happens is that these statistics and these infographics are readily shared on social media. It also shows that it lends itself well to a publisher of our size that Lee and Low can help to drive deeper discussions, you know, about some of the inequality and lack of representation in all forms of media, including books. And I think that's important because I think a lot of the panelists that are sitting with me and a lot of the people that I see here in the room, it's kind of like a who's who of diversity advocacy sitting here, is that we all know that every 3 to 5 years, basically this issue comes up where people say, or the media at large says, oh, there's a diversity problem, we got to write about it, right? like this is new, right? And then it dies out again. Okay, but I think what's interesting now is that we're seeing that the issue is sustaining itself. And I think that has a lot to do with keeping these things going, keeping these balls in the air. And I think that's a good thing. Even though you look at these things and it's not a good thing, but it's a good thing that the issue is sustaining itself and that we can keep talking about it and hopefully it'll move into action.